I have to say, Maria, I laugh at the Democrats who are now all of a sudden so interested in the Epstein files. For 4 years, Joe Biden and the Democrats did absolutely nothing about this story. We know that Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of connections with left-wing politicians and left-wing billionaires, and now President Trump has demanded full transparency from this, and yet somehow the Democrats are attacking him and not the Biden administration, which did nothing for 4 years.
Was it the right move for Comer to send subpoenas to the Clintons?
It absolutely was, and it drives home how, while the Democrats have tried to make this Epstein thing about anything but, the fact that Democrat billionaires and Democrat political leaders went to Epstein Island all the time, who knows what they did, but it's totally reasonable to ask these questions. What you saw in the House's subpoena is they are trying to investigate all of the things related to this particular case. I know a lot of Americans want answers. I certainly want answers. And I think James Comer and the team of the House, they're doing the right thing. And of course, we know that Clinton, or allegedly he went to the island 26 times, 28 times. Totally appropriate for Comer to be asking what was going on at that island.
I have a great idea, JD. I have a great idea. Expose them. I have an even better idea. Here's a really fast way of exposing them. Release all those files. Matter of fact, get all of them, bro. Release everything. This is what came out of their ridiculous, supposed to be canceled meeting that they had about how to go forward after Donald Trump sent in his personal attorney to go have a private meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell, who was in a maximum security prison because she's a child sex trafficker and was sent to minimum security farms to go hang out in exchange for the things that she needed to say out loud for them to say Donald Trump had nothing to do with this. I have a great idea, JD. Go ahead and release it. But JD Vance was part of the cabal of 5 people that were supposed to meet together to come up with this as the reason. This is the next gameplay that they had to try and continue to cover this up. You know what? They're better off covering this up by occupying as many American cities as possible, which they're doing too. Michael Wolff, author, journalist, interviews a lot of people regarding this stuff and has exposed a lot of things that Donald Trump was about. Michael Wolff talked about one of the things that they probably talked about in that secret meeting that Donald Trump's personal attorney, who's now number 2 at the DOJ, had to say. And once you hear what he exposed, you'll understand why it was a secret meeting.
Now, this is a key issue right now in the way the White House is looking at the Epstein scandal. The fear is that Ghislaine Maxwell can tie Donald Trump to the details of what Trump and Epstein called the committee. The committee consisted of Trump and Epstein in their efforts to get girls for Prince Andrew.
Someone pointed out something pretty clear about that. Michael Wolff has been saying a lot of things about Donald Trump and his buddy relationship with Epstein, and allegedly some of the things he did and said. Some of it's been really disgusting. And they noticed that Donald Trump hasn't threatened to sue him at all. I mean, maybe I missed it. I saw someone point that out, and I said, you know what? I haven't seen that. Has he threatened to sue Michael Wolff like he's threatened to sue everyone else? Has he filed in lawsuits? Because he went straight after the Wall Street Journal for that story about the birthday book that had his scribble scrabble drawing and explicit writing in it. But he hasn't gone after Michael Wolff. Michael Wolff keeps telling those types of stories about what's happened and maybe what it is that's motivated him to keep Ghislaine Maxwell as close to him as possible. Because what she wants to do is get out of that prison. As a matter of fact, there was a woman who was Ghislaine Maxwell's cellmate in that prison in Tallahassee. Her name was Catherine Kamoli. She is now out, and she spoke with which publication is this? The Daily Mail, and talked about her interactions with Ghislaine Maxwell, how disgusting that prison was. They said at one point they had to put maxi pads on the ceiling to keep water from coming in. There was all kinds of backups in the toilets. There was like 4 bathrooms for 140 women there. The way that Ghislaine Maxwell kept to herself, just little things about it. But the one thing about that one prison is that nobody wanted to be there based off the disgusting nature of the food, the conditions, and the toilets and the water flow, all that type of stuff. Ghislaine Maxwell had to get the hell out of there. And one of the ways she got out of there was by letting Donald Trump know, yo, I'll absolve you of all the things that I know about. Just get me out of here. Look how fast she got out of there. This is what Catherine Camoli talked about, though. Speaking of the way that Ghislaine Maxwell has dirt on Donald Trump. Camoli says it was common knowledge among inmates that Maxwell didn't aim to serve her full 20-year sentence. It was instead had hoped to get a pardon from the U.S. President Joe Biden in exchange for information about Donald Trump in the lead up to the 2024 election. She's been trying to get any politician that will give her reprieve as possible. Continuing, quote, I heard her tell another inmate that she had dirt on Trump and that it was going to get her a pardon from Biden. I guess the Biden camp just didn't want to go down that route. I get it. I get it. That's just someone who was an inmate there at the prison, so we shouldn't trust her. Think about what you're thinking if you're thinking that. Why would we trust the inmate named Ghislaine Maxwell who was in that same prison for what we've seen and has been detailed, her long stint of being Jeffrey Epstein's right-hand woman in carrying out this sex trafficking ring of little girls for so long that she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But Congress wants to, Republicans in Congress, they want to subpoena her and have her talk about all the things that they want her to reveal, and they'll trust her, even though also part of her being convicted was how much she lies. So they're willing to trust her as long as she tells them what they need to know to help Donald Trump get off the hook. But we shouldn't believe another inmate in the exact same prison who was there for meth possession and intent to sell. Think about that. Think about one more thing, because these old videos are coming up of Donald Trump and his mindset when it comes to sexual assault. Maybe you guys have seen this. This is, I think he was on Charlie Rose's show back in the early 90s, talking about Mike Tyson's rape conviction and how much he was disgusted by it. And look at the way that he thinks about it. And also remember that he ran a beauty pageant.
I mean, my mother was so crazy when I came out in defense of Mike Tyson, but I watched what happened to Mike Tyson. I watched how badly he was represented by an attorney in Washington that was charging him $3 or $4 or $5 million against a local attorney, the best within 100 miles that the state hired, who just ate the other man's lunch. And I watched the way he did it, and I heard about a girl that late in the evening knocked on his door, was taken in, was raped, perhaps not. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Again, I think he was very badly represented. But I did see that, number one, she knocks late in the night. Number two, she's dancing in a beauty contest at 8 in the morning, and I saw the tapes, and I see the big smile on her face, and she's dancing happily at 8 in the morning. And now Mike Tyson's in jail for 4 or 5 or 6 years. I had a real problem with that case. I had a real problem with Mike Tyson's lawyers. I had a real problem with Don King.
But if, in fact, he raped her in that hotel room, regardless of whether she came there, you think that he should have been convicted and should have gone to the slammer?
He to this day denies it. I don't know that it happened, and I think that as they said, if he didn't testify, he would have been exonerated totally. The jury said that. Again, she was in a beauty contest, and she was dancing with a big smile on her face at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock in the morning.
Nothing speaks to Donald Trump more than a woman from a beauty pageant dancing at a certain hour of the day or night. I feel like he said late and early. Who cares? But what she did was she danced. And she's in a beauty. Did you know that she was in a beauty pageant? Let me get back to that, though. This is a woman that was in a beauty pageant, and she was smiling while she was dancing. So what do you expect? Mike Tyson's attorneys really screwed him over by not pointing out that the woman was dancing and smiling and showed up there. Crazy how that works. This is the mindset of people who assault women. As a matter of fact, some of the things that he was found to be culpable of was assaulting women. I feel like we keep forgetting that. Think about the first aspect of his defense of Mike Tyson in that case. She was dancing and she was smiling. And on top of that, the reasons that he wants Mike Tyson out of jail at the time had nothing to do with Mike Tyson. It had to do with Donald Trump making money off of Mike Tyson.
Explain to me now what you were thinking about the Mike Tyson situation. Shortly after the verdict was announced that he had been convicted, he was guilty of the crime, you had a plan. Now, what were you thinking?
What was I thinking?
Yeah.
I was thinking that as soon as he gets out, he's going to fight at my casinos.
Yeah, but you can't buy your way through.
Of course, I'm only kidding when I say that, folks.
I wish I could say that.
Mike Tyson was greeted at his door at 1 o'clock in the morning by a woman. He then...
Well, we don't need to go through the case again.
But it's ridiculous. The woman was dancing at 8 o'clock, and this guy's in jail for 6 years. I don't understand it. I think it's wrong. I think
but due process of law prevailed.
Mike Tyson should fight. Mike Tyson should supply millions and millions and millions of dollars to rape victims, and I think that's a hell of a lot better than him sitting in a jailhouse for 6 years. Now, let him do some time, let him do some this, but this man could supply $30 million just from one fight, and that solves a lot more problems than keeping him locked up in solitary confinement doing nothing. I think that Mike Tyson had a horrible defense. I think he had a horrible
but
defense
again, what
lawyer.
you're saying is that celebrities maybe should be treated differently than lay people.
And I say Mike should serve some time and everything else, but to keep a man, here's a woman that was dancing at his door at 1 o'clock in the morning dancing.
We don't need to get into this. We don't need to get into this.
But that's an important thing.
That's the two important things. This woman was dancing, and Mike Tyson could provide me with $30 million if he fights in my casinos. One last little aspect or view into the way that people who make a lot of money off of other folks think about those other folks. I need them so I can make money. Does that look like a hardworking, hard-nosed, blue-collar American worker? This guy needed an athlete to be out of jail for his convictions so he can come out and fight and make money for him. If Mike Tyson couldn't fight, Donald Trump wouldn't give a hot damn about whether or not he was convicted, whether or not the girl was dancing. Oh, actually, he would still care about whether or not the girl was dancing and smiling, because Donald Trump doesn't care about anything with women in that. But when it comes to a well-known figure that was busted for that and was in prison, what he needs is the $30 million, because Donald Trump doesn't work. That's why he was golfing on the weekend and Trey Gowdy licked his ass.
I actually played yesterday with President Trump. He hit almost every fairway with his beautiful little 3-yard bullet fade. It was just, it would go out there and fade just about 3 yards. He's got me by what, 20 years? But he can still crank the ball out there pretty far. Now, we do not play handicaps. We play straight up.